started. I hope your packs all arrived okay. This is, Kirsty, this is our last Digital Drams of 2023. So yeah, we're going out on a bang here with some great drams. I'm really looking forward to this. So
No pressure being the last one, hey?
pressures for tires, like, you know. There's just one more person who's joining from the waiting room. There's always, I don't know if it's connection lag or what it is. There's always some people who are slow in to join, even though it says that they've come in. There they are. So we'll get started anyway. Brilliant. So how everyone? Kevin and Kevin, how are you doing? Hello from Dorset, they say. So thanks for joining us. And yeah, I suppose for everyone who's joining us for the first time, because there was a lot of these packs went out. So I'm sure there's a few people on here, or at least watching the recording, who are joining us for the first time. Thank you for joining us. We like to kind of be kind of relaxed and chilled on these, and we want you to ask as many questions as possible and share your tasting notes. We also have a couple of bottles to give away. So we're going to do the usual one where if you tag us in any of the social media, either the platform formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at MyWClub. So if you tag the W Club with a picture of your tasting setup at home, we'll send out a few bottles to some people who do that. So and that anyone watching this on the Zoom, if you're watching this maybe between now and let's say next Monday, which is today's the 14th, then we'll include those entries. So that gives people who are watching the recording to join in. Other than that, we've got we maybe do for ones for the best kind of comments and tasting notes. What do you think, Kirsty? Have you any suggestions?
Yeah, maybe the most interesting tasting note.
So, yeah.
Maybe
No.
the most different tasting note. Something unusual.
Yeah. Perfect. No, that sounds good. So yeah, I suppose the most important thing, folks, is to keep the chat going, and at the end we'll be giving out a discount code for 15% off all of these drams we tried tonight. They should all be in stock on the website, but I know that the special release 2021, there's incredibly only like a handful of bottles of that available. So if that's the one you like tonight, that was what I recommend moving fastest on, because I think there's maybe only 3 of them in stock, because obviously it's a special release from a couple of years ago. So it's a great one to be able to try in here, and as I said, there's only a few there. So Kirsty, do you want to tell everyone the lineup we're going to go in, and then maybe a bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for coming on and listening to me. I'm really, really excited to do this. It's my first one that I've ever done with the W Club. So, yeah, I'm really excited. We've got some amazing whiskies to try, some fantastic lineup tonight. So, I'm really excited to share them with you. The order that I was thinking of going down is starting with Talisker 10, moving on to Talisker Portree, then Talisker Special Release 2021, which is the 8-year-old, then into the special release of this year, 2023, and then finishing off with a fantastic whiskey, Talisker 25. So if everyone thinks that's okay, we can get going.
No, that sounds good. I mean, I can imagine. Don't want to speak on behalf of everyone, but I think a lot of people are excited for that 25-year-old. I know I am. It's probably the only one in the lineup I actually haven't tried before. So yeah, definitely
Sorry, I'm
excited for
making
that.
everyone wait till the very end for everyone's
No, that's good. You know, that's good.
suspense.
Tantalizing, as they say, like, you know.
um, so my biggest pet hate with any tasting, any training event that I do is that you have to wait to drink the whiskey. So by all means, please feel free to go ahead and drink the 10-year-old. Have a nose, have a taste. Yeah, please feel free to go ahead. Don't wait for me to tell you to drink the whiskey. So a little bit about me before we kind of get into the tasting. I think it's important that you know who you're talking to when you do a tasting. So I like to give everyone a bit of a feel for who I am and why I do the job that I do, and why I work for Diageo. So my name is Kirsty. I was born and raised up in Speyside in Scotland. And I have only worked for, so please be kind to me. I've only worked for Diageo for about 3 months. I have worked in whiskey for coming up to about 8 years now. So I started off my journey with whiskey, if you like. I was a tour guide in Speyside, and so I tour guided Strathisla Distillery, and I was also a tour guide at Glenlivet Distillery. And as cliche as it sounds, it's where I fell in love with whiskey. And yeah, I spent time learning from people in the distillery, from the operators, and I fell in love with everything about whiskey. I then went on to work continued my journey with Chivas, with Pernod Ricard in London. I was Glenlivet ambassador for a couple of years for Pernod Ricard, and then I went to work for Gordon and MacPhail for a couple of years. So working with some absolutely incredible whiskies with Gordon and MacPhail. I worked at the time when we launched the oldest single malt in the world at the time. So a really, really exciting time. And yeah, I've been with a side job for a couple of years. 2 years, I went and ran my family restaurant up in Lossiemouth. If anyone's ever in Lossiemouth and knows it, that's where my family restaurant is. Ran that for 2 years until I came back down to London because I realised there wasn't a lot going on up in Lossiemouth for me. So I came back down to London 3 months ago. So yes, a little bit about me before we start the tasting. I guess I kind of like the structure that I want to go down is the next probably just under an hour. We've got 5 incredible whiskies. The way that I was going to tackle it was we can taste 2 whiskies, sort of have a little bit of a break, and Luke and I can chat through if there's any questions in the chat, go through those, then go to the next 2, do the same, go through the chat. If you've got anything you want to share, please do, and then we can go through that after the next 2 whiskies, and then finish off with the 25-year-old. But one thing I like to say is I never really have a particular structure with any tastings or trainings. I think it's chatty. Whiskey is a conversation, and we're all here to either continue our love for whiskey or learn to love whiskey. But yeah, it's a conversation. So whatever you're thinking, just pop it into the chat, ask some questions, and yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Does that sound okay, Luke?
Sounds great, yeah. And we've already got people coming in with some tasting notes from the Tally 10. I know it's been brought up in previous tastings that some of the people who are regulars on these tastings that it's a personal favorite for them. So Kirsty says she's getting sea salt, smoke, dried fruit. One of the Kevins, I'm not sure which one. Are they speaking with a unified voice tonight? A univocular Kevin says I'm getting salt, pet, and some apple and fruity. Kirsty says a bit of pepper, brine, and almost floral heather. So do you want to tell us about the Talisker 10 in case there's anyone, I know the odds are low, but there may be someone on here who's maybe not had it before.
Absolutely. So Talisker can't get my words out. Talisker 10 is I think it's an absolutely brilliant introduction to Talisker. There's one thing which is at the heart of every single Talisker that we'll drink tonight, and you've probably heard this before, red hot chili pepper. It is a spicy, peppery note that you will get in every single bottle of Talisker that you ever try. And I think the Talisker 10 captures this perfectly. So all of those tasting notes that you said there just now are absolutely spot on. I loved hearing them. And yeah, I think a lot of people fall in love with Talisker through this whiskey. For me personally, I am really embarrassed to admit that it took me 21 years of my life to travel 2.5 hours to Skye. And when I did, I was in love with Speyside whiskies, and I said I will never drink smoky whiskey. So Talisker was the one for me that actually converted me to drinking peated whiskey. So it has got a special place in my heart for converting me onto whiskies. It's definitely a slightly more sweeter smoke when we talk about peated whiskies. It's a medium peated single malt. So it's not like your super punchy Isle of Skye's Lagavulin and Kalila, which are absolute punchy bonfire smoke. And that's, I think, why it caught me. And yeah, I've got a special place in my heart for this whiskey. But all of those tasting notes you said were absolutely perfect. Definitely kind of, it has got a freshness, fresh fruit as well as more stewed fruits. But definitely heather, honey, pear is one thing that I get with Tally 10. But yeah, that red hot chili pepper definitely comes more on the palate. When I think my first day at Diageo, I did a tasting with Colin Dunn with this whiskey, and he challenged me to hold it in my mouth for at least 30 seconds. And then when you swallow the whiskey, take a sharp, deep breath in and it will literally make you cry. It was also my first day at Diageo and I was terrified, so it might have been that. But no, it's that red hot chili pepper kick gets you when you do that. So if anyone wants to do that, by all means, go ahead. But yeah, Slàinte. I hope you're enjoying Tally 10.
Sounds like a plan. It's Sean's first time trying it. Adam has asked, did the Talisker 10 change at some point in recent years? I've heard some people say it experienced a dramatic flavor change, not good or bad, when the new labels came along.
So the labels did change, but the liquid has remained the same. I think the labels changed, I think it was about 2 years ago now. And yeah, no, as far as I'm aware, the liquid stayed the same.
Marvelous. And we got some extra tasting notes in there as well, some great ones. Ed has said sweet and peppery, first time with peated whiskey here and really enjoying it. Freshly cut grass, says Steph. Bob says kippers and seaweed mixed with fruit, burnt maple bacon bits on toast. It's a great tasting note, long finish.
Wow, love these.
So the on Ed's point, I think someone else might have mentioned it, and or was it you actually? Firstly, were you saying that it was your first non-peated whiskey or your first peated whiskey? It is a bit of a gateway drug into peated whiskey. This one, isn't it? Famously so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's either I like to think of smoky whiskies almost like the Marmite of the whiskey world, and you either love them or you hate them. And people who love them have got a real passion for their smoky whiskey. And for me, up until Talisker, I had been on the side of not enjoying peated whiskey, and I probably shouldn't admit to saying that now. But no, Talisker was the one for me that converted me into whiskey. But then again, like the surroundings, I don't know if anyone that calls been to Talisker or been to Skye. If you have, please let me know in the chat. But everything about being in the distillery just converted me onto it. I mean, you walk over the bridge into the distillery, the water, the sea is just right there. It's beautiful. And yeah, so in terms of when we talk about Talisker as a brand, we talk about rugged luxury, and how the elements around the distillery impact everything to do with the branding, which I'm sure you can see in the branding behind me. It's all about the elements and where the distillery sits. Our tagline for the distillery is "Made by the Sea for the Sea," which I'm sure a lot of you have seen on our packaging and in our branding. But it really is capturing that ruggedness, actually represents the liquid itself. So it's that rugged, spicy, like punchy fieriness that you get from Talisker. And it's exactly what the distillery looks like and what surrounds it, the landscape. Yeah. It's had, in terms of our history, we are the oldest distillery on Skye, founded in 1830 by two brothers. It had a very turbulent history. In 1960, there was a really bad fire that destroyed a large part of the distillery. Reopened in 1962. And following on from that, their maltings closed on site. So in terms of a company for Diageo, we have 4 maltings, which provide all 29 and a half of our distilleries with the malt that we use to make our whiskies. And then in 1988, Diageo released the classic malts, which I'm sure a lot of people on the call know about. And it really gave Talisker a voice. And yeah, now I think we sit at roughly about 7th best-selling single malt in the world. I think it's about, can't remember numbers, but around about 43 million bottles, I think, is where we're roughly sitting at. Don't quote me on numbers.
No.
But that making us about seventh best-selling single malt in the world. So that's where we are at today. But yeah, I think we should move on to a second whiskey. Been chatting a lot.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Maybe while people are getting the Port Rui, is that how you pronounce it?
So I pronounce it as Portree.
Port Rui, sorry.
Portree. So it does look like Port Rui, but it's Portree. So the town on the Isle of Skye, which is where the majority of people that live in Skye are, is called Portree. But the way that it is spelled on this whiskey is the Gaelic spelling of Portree. And yeah, it's almost a little bit of a nod to our history. It on the Isle of Skye, I think it's a roughly about half an hour drive, slightly more, from Portree to the distillery. And actually, the way that the distillery workers used to get to the distillery long ago was actually by the school bus. So the school bus used to do a run simply for the distillery workers to get to the distillery. And yeah, that's where the name on nod to the history comes from for this one.
Marvelous. So
And
while people are maybe nosing that, we got some good comments on the Talisker, and I suppose it's good if people have to maybe keep a bit of the 10 so we can compare them. But there was a few comments just on your distillery visit you're mentioning, Kirsty, where people had said that they'd been there before and it was great. There was also another question saying Jeff has said, is the distillery fully open now? I had a tasting in a porter cabin when I was there.
oh yeah, so the distillery was going under I think the visitor centre was going under reconstruction, but yeah, I believe it's fully open now. I think they get about 65,000 visitors-ish per year to Talisker, so it's a real big tourist destination in Skye.
We Yes, it sounds exciting. I've as we were discussing before we came on, I've only been in Scotland. It'll be 2 years in January since I moved over
Yeah.
here from Ireland, and I still haven't been to Skye, but it's definitely on the priority list. There and Arran are two places I'd love to visit that I haven't been.
Doing doing my job, I think nothing like in whiskey tastings. I think the number one question that I get asked is nothing to do with whiskey. It's where should I go in Scotland if I go? And every single time I say to someone, of course, I always say Speyside because I love it and I'm very biased. But my number one place I say to go to people is Skye. It genuinely blew me away when I went. I couldn't get over the landscape. It was just absolutely stunning. Yeah.
Marvelous. I suppose just while people are nosing that the Uri, Ugi, how do you pronounce it
Poetry,
again? Sorry,
poetry. I say
Portree.
poetry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm terrible like that. But there was a question there just in terms of these two. There's a few questions there we will come back to and some great tasting notes.
Mhm.
So if I haven't read it out, don't worry, folks. As Chris said at the start, we'll take another break after this next whiskey. But there was just a couple in terms of obviously there's a question there about chill filtering and ABV of the
Mhm.
Talisker 10.
Yeah.
And if you could maybe answer that and the difference between these two, the kind of the cask makeup and what makes these two so different. I mean, straight away I noticed that the port Rue is much darker
Yeah.
in color.
Yes. So, in terms of, I think you mentioned chill filtering first. So, one, two, I believe 3 out of 5 whiskies that we're going to be drinking tonight, have been chill filtered. The reason for that is I think I've touched on us being 7th best-selling single malt in the world, and I mean it's a process that's done for consistency and also. I think a lot of people on this call will know what chill filtering means and how it changes the whiskey in terms of mouthfeel and texture. But ultimately, if we are 7th best-selling single malt in the world, we have to transport our whiskey across the world, and it's being served in different temperatures. And chill filtering just takes out those fatty acids and changing temperatures. And I think a lot of people on this call will understand that. But wider whiskey world, someone new to whiskey might get their whiskey and think something's maybe wrong or off with it when the temperature changes and they see the look of the whiskey changes. So that's why it's chill filtered basically. We are trying two which aren't, so you get to try a more natural style if you like of Talisker when it hasn't been chill filtered. The other question in terms of maturation, so Talisker 10 is primarily ex-bourbon, so American oak casks have primarily been used to make Tally 10. And Portree is a really different, interesting one because it is a port cask finish. But it's fully matured Talisker, and then what we do is we put it into seasoned port casks for a finish. It's been seasoned with ruby port, Portree has. So it gives it it's going down a slightly sweeter route than the Tally 10. It's like almost that red hot chili pepper kick softened slightly with the port finish. More kind of plum, sweeter, rich fruits, raisins, slightly more honeyed heather notes as opposed to that black peppery kick that you get with Tally 10. So I'd say those are primarily my contrasts and differences between the two. But yeah, if anyone else wants to share what they think. I never like giving tasting notes. I like to hear what everyone else thinks.
Yeah. We've got some great tasting notes coming in there. Kevin and Kevin say I get excuse me. Kevin say I'm getting cut grass, very fresh, more subtle peat than the other Kevin is. The other Kevin is getting currants and raisins. Melvin says I'm getting a lot more syrupy texture, earthy plums, rhubarb, then a long driftwood smoke and brine finish. And Kirsty says getting more spice and more fruit, thinking chocolate, ginger biscuits, plus a bit of dried fruit, maybe raisins with lots and lots of smoke, but also a bit earthy. We've also got a question there about how long the finish is for this. You mentioned the port casks there.
So you'll probably not be surprised to know this, but we don't get told. But from my imagination, I can guess it sits somewhere between like 3 to 6 months, I'm guessing. But again, that's just my personal estimate. Yeah.
So not that long really in the scheme of things.
I don't imagine so. I think they season the casks with ruby port, and I don't imagine it being in for too long. But again, that's just my guess. We are going on to try one which is another port finish, which is done slightly differently. So if you can keep some of this, I know it's a bit of a challenge, but we will be contrasting it with a different port finish. It's nice to keep some, compare the two.
No, excellent. Yeah, it's definitely best if you can. I often can't, but even though I tell people they should, to keep a bit to compare,
Yeah.
in each of them to go back on. We got a couple more taste notes there. Bob says, Demerara sugar, an earthy crayon nose, chili chocolate orange taste. That's a great tasting note.
Yeah,
We got
that's
the
actually, I was doing just a quick nose before we came on, and I've written down soft brown sugar as well, so we're on the same path.
There you go. Excellent. It's almost like we're not making it up as we go along. The the no, it's definitely sweeter. You definitely get the port coming through. Ed has said dark chocolate and spice. Catherine has said, is Talisker matured on the island, or is it held somewhere else?
So we have our maturation warehouses all across Scotland. A large amount of them are held in Central Belt, but I know that Talisker does have some maturation warehouses on Talisker as well. Yes, so it does have quite an impact of being by the sea, especially as it matures next to the sea. The salty air permeates the casks as they mature. And there is a quote. I'm gonna have a think of it and come back to it. There is a quote about how whiskey matures in Skye. Let me come back to that.
Perfect. We've also got the Kirsty said, how is Talisker planning to respond to the new kid on the block? No longer the only distillery on Skye, and Torbeg has burst onto the scene and been a big hit. They are focusing on small batch, I suppose she's listed, cask malts. How will Talisker market themselves going on, or will this change anything?
I mean, I don't think it changes a lot for Talisker. I mean, there's always room for more whiskey. I think yeah, the more whiskey, the better for everyone. The more chance you can try different things and experiment with different casks and things, the better. So no, I think I'm always advocating for more distilleries and more whiskey. I think we've got Talisker's spirit is fantastic. It matures incredibly well. I think really old Taliskers, they mature incredibly well. Younger Taliskers are super fiery and peppery, and they've got loads of kick to them. So yeah, I think there's a lot of experimentation with Talisker and where it can go and what things can hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, come from Talisker in the future. But no, in terms of new distilleries, yeah, I think the more the better.
Excellent. Bob said love it in Skye. Visited several times, bought the whiskey, plus the freshest seafood at Shed around the corner. My
Yeah.
wife loves the oysters, especially great scallops too. We've heard that about. I think when was it Charlotte was doing the special release tasting, she talked about the oysters on Talisker as well. It sounds like quite the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to go back and do this again, definitely to refresh my memory, I think. But Talisker pairs incredibly well with seafood. Oysters are the best. I last night, the night before, I did a tasting in Blackrock with Talisker, and we all had oysters, and it was absolutely incredible. So yeah, I can only encourage doing that more. But any seafood, scallops, amazing. And yeah, when you're on Skye and it's right there, it's just a different experience, a whole new level.
Perfect. That's the Black Rock in Moorgate, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm,
it's a
yeah,
great pub. Yeah.
yeah, really nice. It was
The
so much fun.
yeah, it's yeah, you'd want to be not worried about your wallet, but it's lovely.
Yeah.
Uh, that's in the sense that it's expensive, not dodgy. Don't worry, folks. That was standard. It says a hint of Loganberry jam on the palate, says Ian, another great tasting note. Adam
Oh
says
wow.
in response to your comment around Torbeg, or your response to the Torbeg question, saying reading between the lines, psh, no danger. Probably should have said nay danger, isn't that what they say up here?
No danger.
David says this really dials up the olive brininess, which is another great tasting note from David. Richard
Mm.
says, I get the jam, maybe blackcurrant, really nicely balanced with the chili and spices coming in the finish. Lovely lingering finish on this one, says Ed. Totally agree.
Oh.
Kirsty said, will the next W Club tasting include food pairings? We have tried that in the past. Obviously, we had the popcorn and singleton, and it is definitely something we have discussed with brands, including some of your colleagues at Diageo, about how we could incorporate food and other elements to complement the whiskey into
I
more of these. So
absolutely love
nothing's,
food pairings. Food pairings
yeah,
are my favorite. I actually wrote a food pairing to suggest everyone with each of these whiskies, but considering we don't have them, I think it's just a bit too temptation, too much thinking about all the food. So
yeah. Well, maybe something you could send them on to me afterwards, and I'll include it in the email
yeah,
tomorrow with the
absolutely.
recording, and people can maybe rewatch it with them. Yeah. So the food pairings is definitely, it's nothing confirmed yet, but look, watch this space.
Mm.
Bob says Tristan's place at Black Rock. Ian says next time you do the oysters, put a splash of Tally 10 instead of lemon or tobacco. Amazing. Jeff says we should W Club meet at Talisker and show Luke around the island. I'd be well up for that, Jeff. 100%. Yeah, let's put it in for sometime next year. So the Tally 10 is £49. With the discount, I think you're getting it at it's about 41.65. It also comes with a porcelain mug gift with purchase at the moment on the website, so you'll get that in as well with the discount. So yeah, enjoy that one. The port
Wintery.
is 56 pounds, so I think that's about 49 pounds with the discount at the end. So they're not bad price points as well. Like, you know, you're coming in under 50 quid with both of them. So that's not bad. It's maybe one of the ones that makes the 10 so popular worldwide, as you mentioned, the seventh biggest selling single malt, because you can see it's ubiquitous. Like you see it in most whiskey bars. It's an approachable price point, and as you say, it kind of straddles that boundary between kind of your peated malts and your kind of Speyside drams as well. So it kind of ticks a lot of boxes. The on that kind of question we were talking earlier on about the peated, and someone, I've scrolled away from the question, but someone had asked you, since that experience with Talisker, and are you now really into the super smoky ones? And if so, what's your go-to super peated whiskey, Kirsty?
I have actually. And it's something that I honestly thought I'd never like. So it really surprised me when I got into liking peated whiskey. My favorite, I absolutely love Lagavulin, and I love eating Lagavulin with blue cheese. It is the best pairing ever. So yeah, I think Lagavulin 16 is one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm
What
still
about a non-Diageo one?
I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that.
We won't tell if you won't.
I've got a lot of love for a lot of whiskies, that aren't Diageo as well. So no, Scotch whiskey is my biggest passion. Like, as cliche as it sounds, I could talk about whiskey forever. And yeah, there are so many out there. I mean, I named my dog after a whiskey which isn't a Diageo whiskey, but I'm not going to say what one it is. So no, I've got a lot of love for a lot.
Come on, if you're naming your dog, okay, let's play a scenario, right? I've got a dog here as well. I won't actually pretend to call him because he actually will come to me. But but let's say hypothetically the dog's in the room with you. What would you call it?
Um,
Adam in the chat has said the dog's name is Octomore. Is that true?
that's not the dog's name. I
No.
mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll find out my dog's name pretty easily.
Okay, Ledgig says Bob.
I mean, if I was getting another dog, I don't think I'd have to call her Tally.
Okay, fair enough. You should be a politician, you know, squirming under pressure. I'm definitely no
I've got to
paxman
pass
anyway.
my probation here, guys. Come on.
That's true. We'll get you back when you finish your probation period with Diageo, and we can have a proper chat. So yeah, no, that's excellent. The Kirsty, they love Lag and Lafroig, and Lafroig sorry, Lagavulin and Lafroig with blue cheese or goat's cheese, bliss. 100%. We used to do in my old job doing whiskey tastings. We used to do a whiskey and cheese pairing, and yeah, so like goat's cheese, blue cheese just go down amazing. Like blue cheese with a really PX heavy whiskey, it's stunning. It's got that kind of that salty, savory mixed with the kind of sweetness of the PX. It's incredible contrast. Mel said I knew
Lagavulin
that.
Distillers Edition is amazing. I think it often gets forgotten about, but yeah, the Distillers Edition is really good as well.
Of which, sorry?
Lagavulin.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah, great whiskey. 100%. I think I've got some behind me. It's Isle of Jazz Festival lager there on the shelf behind me.
Oh.
Saving for a special occasion. Kevin and Kevin said smoky whiskey also goes well on a good vanilla ice cream. 100%.
Oh, nice. Love that.
It definitely does. So Mel said, to which country did Talisker export to the most? And are they new worldwide market? Sorry, and are they new worldwide market that Talisker are going for? I suppose, let's say, what's currently the biggest export market, and what's the kind of fastest growing, we'll say?
That's actually a question which I don't know, being 3 months into Diageo yet. So I will definitely find out, and I can get back to you on that. But sorry for not knowing the answer straight away.
No, that's no problem.
So I joined Diageo, and I don't even think I even said, but I'm Scotch ambassador, so I'm not specific to a brand. If I was the Talisker brand ambassador, hopefully I would know the answer to that question. So I cover 29 and a half distilleries for Diageo. So I'm trying to learn a lot of information at the moment. But no, I love being asked questions I don't know, because then now I will know. But I will find out
look it
by
up.
consent.
Yeah. I would have just lied and said America. It's always either America or Germany. It's like, you know, just go for one of those two, and it's probably true. So yeah, so we'll maybe start slowly coming on to the two special releases. I suppose the 2021. It's a bit of a throwback. Who remembers what we were doing in 2021? We were going in and out of lockdown. And our lives were changing very fast. So yeah, let's relive that with this beautiful whiskey. The bottle is stunning. Yeah, with the what's it, like a sea dragon or something on the front?
Yeah. So the special releases, I'm sure that everyone on the call knows a lot about them, but for anyone who doesn't know about the special releases, they are a collection of whiskies which Diageo release every year. Roughly about this time of year. This year we launched them at the London Whisky Exchange Show. It was the first time we've ever launched them at the show, which was really, really exciting. And the theme this year is all around spirited exchange, which I guess I'll get into with the next whiskey. But yeah, they've been coming out for just over 20 years now, and it's a highly anticipated time for whiskey lovers, for everyone who really enjoys seeing what ones are going to get released this year. And it really gives a platform from quite a lot of our distilleries which we don't release, which get held for the like blending part of our business. So like this year, for example, we released our first ever Rose Isle, which we've never ever released before as a single malt. So yeah, really, really exciting. And yeah, it just gives a platform for whiskies which don't get shouted about a lot in Diageo, out with things like Flora and Fauna and other releases. So this is the one from 2021. In terms of cask, it's been matured in heavily peated refill casks. So this is probably going to be one of the most peaty whiskies from Talisker that we'll ever release. Special releases are always cask strength, they're always non-chill filtered, they're natural colour, they're really the whiskey in their most natural form, if you like. Yeah, so this is the 8-year-old, which we released in 2021.
It's, as you say, the color is it's quite a stark difference, actually. Like it's a lovely kind of what would you call that, straw maybe, or hay, but it's very pale. at least comparison to the last two. Much different on the nose as well. Kirsty said the 2021 release is Isle like in spirit of being so pale. TCP/iodine, lots of seaweed and brine on the palate, wood smoke and lots of pepper, getting peppered hot smoked mackerel. We've got Kirsten would love to try this with a good sushi. That's a good shout. It says very clean and refined with a good dose of peat. Kevin says much more aggressive, maybe because of the ABV. Love the medicinal smoke. I'm also getting underlying leather. A real step up in taste, says Bob. Base ABV of 45.8 is great, but this one at nearly 60% is fabulous. Quakers, porridge oats, and more maritime on the nose. Lovely, prickly, peppery taste. And Stephen says seaweed porridge. So some great taste notes. I've stuck the link to the product in there because one of the fun things with these special releases is the bottles. They always look smashing. So yeah, is there anything else you can tell us maybe about this one, Kirsty, around the just around, the casks and the design on it?
So on the ABV, I think it's important to obviously say that we're jumping up quite a lot to 59.7, which is quite punchy and quite powerful. But then I guess hand in hand with that, 8-year-olds is I would describe as quite a young Talisker. So not only with that high ABV, but younger Taliskers are super punchy and peppery, and you get a lot of that spirit character with young Talisker. So it is quite a drastic change from going to Portree, which has been finished in a port cask at 5.8% up to this. So again, I would encourage keeping a little bit of this and coming back to it once we move on, especially when we go to the next special release and then the 25, because it's probably, I would say, the most punchiest one that we're going to try tonight. It does change drastically with a little bit of water. I think I prefer it with a little bit of water particularly. But on the ABV, I'm not sure if anyone knows this or is aware, but most all core range Taliskers are at 45.8% ABV. So anything that we release half strength or anything out with that will be higher, but nothing, I believe, will be lower than 45.8. I wish it was a better story to tell, but the old distillery manager just said that this is the optimum ABV for Talisker to be. So that's why all our core range is 45.8, apart from things like special releases and limited releases and things like that. So
that's as good a reason as any. If it means that we get optimal Talisker, then
exactly.
why not?
So that's why I do think that this does actually benefit from being lowered slightly in ABV, takes down that punchiness and helps to take out the flavors. So in terms of maturation, it's been matured in heavily peated refill casks. So again, the casks have been used before. I'm not entirely sure how many times they've been used before, but going by the colour, I do think that there's been a lot taken out of the cask as well. So we're getting more of what's been in there previously. So a lot of that peated whiskey which has been in there before, as well as from the oak as well, but a lot of natural Talisker spirit character in there.
Excellent. And Ed agrees with you with the few drops of water opens it up nicely. Sean has an interesting comment. He says, reminds me of a sponge cake I made on the barbecue back in the summer, very smoky with a hint of vanilla. I've never heard of a sponge cake being baked on barbecue, but it sounds incredible.
That's really interesting, because I think that you get a lot of sort of like malty, biscuity, vanilla, and then the smoke for me is more on the finish than instantly. So yeah, like a sweet cake initially, and then the smoke comes after.
Yeah, because I was actually going to say a bit like a baked Alaska, which kind of, I think Sean's description, not that I've ever had a sponge baked barbecue, but what you could imagine its taste like is a better tasting note. But yeah, you get that kind of that sweetness, but that burntness as well with that alcohol if you made a proper baked Alaska with too much brandy. It's
now on my mission to go and do that on the barbecue.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a great idea. Where did you get that one from, Sean? Melton, how many bottles are released in these limited releases?
So they are limited every year. When they're gone, they're gone. They never tell us numbers, but I know for a fact that it's not every single bottle is the same amount. They're all different. So for this year, I think we're almost sold out of Rose Isle, or have sold out of Rose Isle. So yeah, when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, there was a couple that went really, really fast. I think it was a few that we got a tiny allocation as a company that we did as buy one of the kind of the more, because there was kind of 4 standard ones, and then was it another 3 or 4 more limited, more expensive ones.
Yeah.
So yeah,
this year, our kind of core ones are Talisker, Singleton, Mortlach, and we also have Oban, Flynleash, Rose Isle, and I'm forgetting one. But it's not always 8 or 7 every year. It changes. I think sometimes
Glenkinchie says Jack 27.
Glenkinchie.
Yeah.
How can I forget the oldest Glenkinchie we've ever released?
That was my favorite of them all. I was very fortunate to try them in a tasting with your colleague Charlotte in Edinburgh, an in-person one in Gleneagles Townhouse, and it was the Glenkinchie 27 is stunning, absolutely stunning. It's about 300 and something quid. Is it 400 quid? But it's
350, yeah.
Yeah, so it's expensive, but for what it is, for both the age statement, but also the quality, it's actually probably one of the best whiskeys, the best whiskey I've tried of this calendar year. So if you can get your hands on a dram, folks, please do.
It is expensive, but for a 27-year-old whiskey of the oldest one that we've ever released from that distillery, I do actually think, and it's so well balanced. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really was. It was ironically, even though it was most expensive, we said it was actually, myself and my colleague Darren said it was probably the best value for money of all the whiskies in terms of quality to spend. Of all the special release this year, it was actually the most expensive, but also the best value. Steph said tried it a couple of weeks ago, really incredible. Jack says it was great. I work at Glenkinchie, and we got an early tasting, and it was amazing. So brilliant. That's exciting, Jack.
I went to Glenkinchie for the first time about 2 months ago, and honestly, I was in my element. If anyone's been and you see the sort of like, I described it as the dollhouse production, like when you walk through and you can see like the miniature stills and like the whole production of it. It's like, this is my dream doll's house as a child. Mini stills and mini cask and mini warehouse. I was like, I'm in my element here.
I've always said it's a brand that people sleep on a bit, like, you know, it's one that kind of gets skipped when you're reading down lists of drams in a whiskey bar or something, you know. There's something about it that almost but it's a great whiskey, like, you know. It always has been. The 12-year-old is a solid reliable kind of one for its price point.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we've got a couple more. So Kevin says, it takes me back to school. A drop of water enhances for me the leather like an old school satchel on a wet day in the school coat cloakroom with a damp gabardine max. So yeah, that's an excellent taste now. I love the ones that are evocative of an image. Yeah, it's brilliant. Richard said, are the refill excuse me, are the refill peated casks all Talisker casks? This one reminds me of Kaelila. Do you know if they're all Talisker or what they were previously?
I don't think they actually are Talisker, to be honest. But again, I can try and push for more information. I did ask about before the tasting, and I didn't get a lot of answers, but I can definitely try and push and ask for more and let you know, Luke.
Perfect. Kirsty said this must be the other port cask, plums and summer berries with Lotto's peat smoke and the very best dark chocolate with plenty of spice. Thinking cinnamon.
Have we moved on to the next
No, we haven't, but we can do. So you're saying it's obviously not a podcast. The next one is the podcast, the 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one that we're coming on to is the port cask. And this was one that was only released about 2 months ago, I think. Yeah, so slightly different to the Portree, different in terms of maturation and type of cask. So what we do with Portree is we season the casks with ruby port, take it out, and then we put the matured Talisker into it for a finish. But with the Talisker 2023 special release, we mature the Talisker and then we basically split it into 3. And we put it into 3 different types of freshly emptied port casks. So white, tawny, and ruby port. And they're split by different ratio and put it into the 3 different types of port casks. They're not seasoned, they are port casks and then return it to the vat and we bottle it from there. So it's got a slightly different style of production, maturation. But all of those tasting notes that I heard, I think someone had already went on to it, was absolutely spot on. Again, very different going from the 8-year-old special release to this. It is cask strength, natural colour, non-chill filtered, and it's 59.7 as well. But yeah, all those tasting notes, I think it's almost slightly more indulgent. It's more, again, going down that slightly more sweeter Talisker route. But I pair this like with a dessert. It's more chocolatey, more that demerara soft brown sugar again, almost like ginger chocolate, some hazelnuts in there. But yeah, stewed fruits, raisins, plums. Yeah, that's my take on it.
No, it sounds good. I think I don't think we did. I know a few people on here will have tried it when we did a special release tasting back in October. So it'll be the second time for a few people trying it, but it is definitely a dram worth another visit. Just for the branding as well, the cool design. I've stuck the link to that into the chat as well, so people can have a look at the bottle. We got some great comments already in. Kirsty has confirmed she was talking about the next dram, so she'd moved on in advance, but that's good. It was a good nudge for us to keep the ball rolling. Richard said excited for this, love white port. Kirsty says think it would go well with a curry. Absolutely love port cask whiskies. Very sooty smoke nose, dare I say frazzles, more food references, sorry, nutmeg and caramel chocolate, cinnamon swirl pastry. So some excellent tasting notes there from Bob. On the Glen Kinchy, Jack has said the model from the 1924 British Empire exhibition, really cool part of the tour. I haven't seen it, Jack, but it sounds good. Is it a model of the distillery? Would you know, Kirsty, or?
So yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think I would rather spend my entire time of the tour just sitting in there. I loved it. And I believe that it can actually produce spirit from it from start to finish.
Oh, really? Wow.
Which is incredible.
So that's what you meant by the dollhouse. Sorry, yeah, I didn't.
No, yeah, sorry, I didn't explain that very well. But it's basically a miniature model of the distillery from start through, from malting straight through to warehousing and maturation, with miniature stills and miniature mash tun and washbacks. And yeah, I believe it can actually produce spirit from it.
Wow, excellent. It does sound good. The Jamie says definitely oilier on the tongue. Jack says frazzles, yes, love that. I actually don't get that reference. Maybe it's a cultural thing or an age thing, I'm not sure, but I've never
frazzles,
had a frazzle.
This is actually, yeah, if I could describe this as a food pairing, it'd be frazzles. It's like bacon crisps.
All right, they're like bacon crisps. Maybe it's something you don't get in Ireland. You see, this is but yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'll have to seek out I presume you can still get them. Robert says big sweet red fruit on the nose, dark chocolate ginger really to the front, dark chocolate remains at the finish. Dark chocolate's been a consistent theme tonight. I mean, accurately so, I think it definitely is. So I don't know if that character is coming through in a lot of the base casks I use, or if it's a spirit, but it's definitely really there. Kevin says less aggressive than 21. As in the 2021. Sweet port would go well with Christmas cake. Jack says it takes elements from different distilleries, so let's go back to the model. And yeah, it used to make spirit, so you're dead right. Jamie says gonna try it with mince pies and clotted cream. A bit jealous of you there, Jamie. Courtney says this one is gorgeous, definitely taking me back to grandma buying fruit and nut chocolates despite my parents' protests. It's a sweet dark chocolate, fruity and sweet.
Yeah,
what you think of those tasting notes?
Fruit and nut chocolate, yeah, with this is just perfect. Love that. In terms of, I've not really spoken much about the design of the casing, but every year they're like very eye captivating. This year the theme of special releases was around spirited exchange. So Scotch, I think, is one of the most, international spirits in the world, and we've traveled over continents and seas for generations, and with that we've collaborated with different cultures and taken inspiration from flavors from all around the world, and that's really what we've tried to captivate in the releases this year. each one has got a slightly different type of maturation or finish or cast type specific to maybe where it's come from. So for example, with Singleton, it's been finished in a French oak white wine Chardonnay cask. And with that, we've then collaborated with a French artist who's designed the outer pack. And then this is the same with Talisker. So we collaborated with Portuguese artist who really captured all of that sort of rugged luxury and made by the sea for the sea in the case. Yeah, so a nod to our history, but the bottles are absolutely stunning. I did a tasting in Melody Whiskey Bar about a couple of weekends ago, and everyone was like basically fighting over the outer cartons to take them home because they were just so nice. But yeah, they're lovely. And yeah, Talisker is obviously a nod to the port cask and the Portuguese artist.
No, it works really well. And you said that rugged luxury. What does that mean, if you don't mind me asking? It's
so I guess we are looking at the elements all around the distillery. So one of our biggest partners in terms of collaborations is Parley for the Ocean. Talisker's sustainability messaging all relies around protecting and preserving the ocean. And I think it's all based around the distillery and where we sit and the rocks and the sea and that sort of idea around it, but that we're a luxury single malt. Yeah, and I guess it's just all around our design and our brand ethos and our story, but it's very representative in the liquid itself as well, in terms of that super peppery, fiery, spicy spirit character.
oh, marvelous. Yeah, Mel says butter, brine, pepper, then comes the port, punchy, sweet, and thick, which is something I've been described as. I think that used to be my Tinder bio. I'm getting young, fresh, older, mellow, blended Talisker while sat on a fishing boat. Jamie says Melody Whiskey Bar was great tasting and loads of food too. And it says on bacon bites, you don't see them these days. So that's on the Frazzles theme. Kevin said you could have a dram of this with a breakfast fry up. That's a great shout. Richard said this would be a great one to play around with adding water too. I've added loads and still holding up well. Drank well as a cast strength too. So that's excellent. So this is 120 quid, and the 2021 is 90. As I said, the 2021 is the one that we don't have a lot of in stock. So if that's the one that you're interested in, obviously I haven't given the discount code yet, but yeah, that's one to move fast on. So obviously that's the retail price. You're getting 15% off that as well. So yeah, we'll actually be bringing that through in a few minutes, because I think unless anyone's got anything to add, or if there's something you wanted to touch on, Kirsty, we might be the moment. We drum roll please as we come on to our last digital dram of 2023. And what a whiskey to go out on.
Yeah, I don't really think I have anything much else to touch on. I mean, I've not really spoken a lot about production in the distillery, but there's not really been a huge amount of questions. But in terms of the malt that we use, I'm not sure if anyone's interested, but it's a 75% peated malt, 25% unpeated. So it's generally like a medium peated spirit, given about a 20 to 25 phenol specification ppm. So yeah, not super punchy. We've got interesting distillery in terms of our line arms. We've got bends in the line arm and a lot of copper contact, which acts as a purifier, so which helps in terms of that kind of medium peated spirit, I guess. Which is, I think, in terms of Talisker specifically, that distillery character stays like synonymous throughout everything. But as we go now onto the older one, I would describe it's like Talisker after a massage. It's much more mellowed, it's softer, it's more relaxed, I would say. The older Talisker gets, the longer it sits in the cask, the smoke mellows. Yeah, so yeah, by all means we can move on to the crescendo 25.
And just in terms of, well, maybe people are nose 25. You mentioned the 75-25% barley. Where is there a specific place you source the barley from, or?
So I think majority is sourced within Scotland as much as possible. We have 4 maltings as a company, so Roseisle, Burghead, Glenord, and Port Ellen. So that's where all our maltings gets done. I mean, it's not a legal requirement for barley to be sourced in Scotland, but I think as much as we can, supporting local farmers. But yeah, you can source outside of Scotland. And yeah, a big maltings is at Glenord, which is the brand home visitor centre of Singleton, which is up there. Not really much else to say about that.
No, perfect. Well, I think people were maybe zoning off there anyway, because I can see people coming in with taste notes in the 25. So I'm sure that's captured their imagination. Not that that listening to your lovely tones isn't great as well, Kirsty. So do you want to tell us a bit about this one?
Sure. So this is it's a marriage of both ex-bourbon American oak and European oak. So it's a marriage of both. I think, yeah, as I say before, it's Talisker after a massage. The smoke softens. I think the sweetness sort of develops further. Perfect balance. I think the older Talisker gets, you get that perfect balance between the spirit and the oak. As we've seen in the younger Taliskers, it's super punchy and fiery, whereas this is just way more balanced. You don't have that super kick pepperiness that you get with the 8 and the 10. Yeah, that's my chat on this one.
Marvelous. Well, we'll see what the chat has to say. Steph says the nose is magnificent. Guy says 25-year-old, beautiful dram, lovely, softer yum. Chris says, hey, love the nose on this. So much sweet fruit. David said a very fruitiness with a hint of fruit. Jack says great fruitiness on the nose. Bob says banana fritters, fudge and toffee apples, chili chocolate,
Yeah.
sweet smoke finish. What a dram.
I just think
And
with
sorry,
this one, it's a lot more tropical. So like, for me, it's like dried apricots, peach notes, which is something I don't think you get a lot with younger Taliskers at all. More tropical fruit notes, not sort of crisp and fresh tropical, more like dried apricots and that sort of thing for me.
yeah,
Sorry, I interrupted.
I wouldn't have guessed it was a Talisker, to be honest. If you handed me this blind, I mean, just for me personally, on the palate, I pick up so much less peat than the first ones, and obviously that can be explained with the age, but it's actually extraordinary how different it is. Kirsty says salt and pepper, but kind of sweet. Vanilla, apples, toffee, sultans, maybe a little biota mango. Bob says nectarines on the barbecue. Banana seared, says Ed. Excellent tasting notes. Robert says marzipan, vanilla, subtle dried fruit, touch of pear. That's excellent as well. Ed says pretty strong phalenic nose. Nice. And Sean says the chocolate refuses to leave. Do you think that chocolate note is coming from the spirit or the casks, Kirsty?
I mean, I think you could probably argue that it comes from both, but yeah, I mean, it's been very clear that it's stayed across all expressions. So yeah, I mean, something that I think stays with a spirit across all range comes from the spirit and from production and all the things that happen in the distillery. So I would probably be more geared to say it was from that.
Marvelous. Well, Jamie says it's really not really nice, but it's 2023 for me, so he prefers the special release.
Really?
So that'll save you a few bob as well, Jamie. This one is 445 pounds, but with the 15% off, which I'll give you the code now, is 378.25. So you're saving 67 pound there. So that's not a bad saving. If this was one you wanted to add to your collection. Ian has maybe got a late run here for but this is me personally, maybe it's a bias for tasting note of the night. Pineapple with a tiny drop of HP sauce. I think that is incredible. It works really well. People underappreciate the sweetness even within a HP sauce, because it was meant to be like a chutney when the sauce was first developed. So you know, it's a great taste to know. So Kevin says the subs for this evening have been good value. Definitely, 100% agree. So your discount code here is WS16, as Mel had, I think it was Mel, someone had said, had alluded to it earlier on, said the regulars will be able to work out the code. It will have a 16 and a WS and a T. Will hold the last letter, Luke. So it's WS16TR. So I just went for the T for, the first and last letter of Talisker. That was my logic. If anyone wants to see behind the curtain, so there's your code for 15% off, folks. This is normally the part of the evening, Kirsty, when people will give us their preferred drams. I know we already have that comment there saying that the Jamie from Jamie that 23 was better than 25. So you want to hear your preference in orders, and maybe if you're not in a rush, Kirsty, we could see if people want to also give us maybe some of their, this is our last, if you indulge us, our last Digital Drams 2023. We've already got some 2 or 3 planned for January, February, so they'll be on sale very soon. So we're not going anywhere, but to remember the year that was in it, maybe people could also drop in some of their favorite tastings of the year, Digital Drams of the year, if they've been on a few, along with their order for tonight. But what an incredible dram to finish tonight on and finish the year on. Have you many more tastings between now and the new year, Kirsty?
So I think this is my last one before the new year. Oh no, I tell a lie, sorry. I've got two next week. Two next week, and then that's me. So
And then you're home to Speyside.
yeah, home to Speyside. I'm very much looking forward to getting out of the hustle and bustle of London for Christmas and getting back up into the cold, fresh air and the tap water I miss a lot.
Marvelous. Yeah, you can't beat
So
Scottish tap water, can you?
yeah, so yeah, 2 tastings next week, and then that's me.
Brilliant. So we've got people's favorites coming in there. Ed says the 2023 special release was favorite. Mel says the 25-year-old is special. It's not in your face, but had so many layers: lemons, apples, ground coffee, tingles my tongue. David's gone with 2-1, so that's the Port Ray and Tally 10. Then the 2023 special release, then the 25-year-old, and then the 21 special release. So that's a really interesting lineup from David. Shauna says my mouth says the 25, my wallet says the special release 2023, and that's something we actually discussed here a lot, Kirsty. Is A, how good a whiskey is, and then B, whether or not you can justify the spend. I mean, so and the 2023 special release does stand out in that regard. I think we even I'm not sure people might remember better than me or have watched the recording more recently, but I think we came to a similar conclusion when we did the special release tasting that it was a great bang for your buck. Kirsty also says the 2023, the 2021, the 10, and then the 25 is last for her. Jack said the 25 is fantastic. The special release 23 comes a close second though. It's incredible. I think the unexpected winner of the night, even though as I scroll down, more and more people have gone with the 2025. I think I wasn't expecting the 2023 to have so many followers. So just looking back quickly through everyone without reading them all out, I think the 2025 does edge it in terms of everyone's most popular. But were you expecting to see the special release 2023 up there with everyone, Kirsty?
To be honest, I think it's great. It's probably in my top 4 of all special releases this year. So I think yeah, it definitely deserves to be up there. And I think Port proves that it works really well with Talisker in this one. Yeah, so I mean, I always think that cask strength Talisker gives you a little bit more as well. I think the mouthfeel of this particular one is super creamy, buttery, it's more oily. So I think that also works for this expression as well. So yeah, no, I'm really happy to see it up there.
Marvelous.
I think it deserves to be there.
Are there any tasting notes that I've got 2 that I'm kind of thinking of? Is there any tasting notes that pop out for you
Well,
that
I should have been writing them down as we were going on. There were so many amazing ones.
Well, if you want to give it a quick back scroll through, you don't have to pick
I
one if
have
there's
to
none that
say,
jumps out to you, because I've got a couple picked up. But if you want to have a quick look, and I'll just have a look at what people have said about their favorite tastings of the year. Because David has said, love the Diageo special release tastings. Jamie has said Singleton and Popcorn was a great one. That was a fun one. Ed says Waterford tasting was one of the more interesting. But this one had more winners overall in terms of whiskey, so that's excellent. So yeah, Neil says House of Hazelwood or Cavalan were my favorite. They were 2 smashing tastings. So Kirsty's husband prefers the 10 as his favorite. So that's interesting. And Joe says feel like the first 4 were 4 adventurous kids exploring the coast in their own way. and this last one is their grandfather proudly watching. So that's romantic. I agree with Joe's sentiment there. I'm not sure I would have jumped to grandfather. I maybe would have gone with parent. Grandfather seems a bit unfair in the 25, considering there's a Talisker 40 or something as well, isn't there?
So yeah, we've just recently launched, as part of our sustainability partnership with Parley for the Ocean. We've released the 43, the 44, and now the 45. 45.
Yeah. So if 25 is the grandfather, then you've boxed yourself in there. So, but other than that, Joe, I think it's a fantastic comment. Sorry, I'm not slagging you, mate. Robert says the 25, a very dangerous dram, such easy drinking, great to drink with a gammon steak and pineapple. Another interesting tasting note. So, anything jump out at you there, Kirsty?
Well, I remember the vanilla, was it the sponge and the barbecue?
Yeah,
I really related with that one, I have to say.
Yeah, I can't remember who. I'm scrolling back to see that now. If that was you, and I can check because I get the transcript of this after the tasting, so no cheating. But if that was you, was it Jack who said that or someone? Please drop me your email address. The other ones I'm going to go for is the HP sauce comment. Whoever made that, that's a winner. And there was one way back. If you give me a second, I'm going to find it. That I thought was excellent. You got to say something, Kirsty. This is killing me. Quickly while I scroll. Sorry.
I think there's been so many amazing tasting notes. I've absolutely loved hearing all of them. So yeah, just thank you so much for all of your input. And thank you for listening to me and having me. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully I can come and do another one at some point.
No,
But I actually think I'm about to get locked in my office, so any point.
Yeah, sorry. What I meant by killing me was my inability to find this, not anything else. So that might have came across rude, so I apologize about that. I was just I'm terrible at tasking. So sorry if that came across rude. I'll find the other one. I definitely have it there somewhere. So we've got those two, and then there's the third one. So we definitely will get you. Got the emails there directed from or DM'd from Sean. So that's brilliant. We'll get them sorted. We pick up some winners online, and Ian was the HP sauce comment. So thank you, Sean and Ian. Kirsty, it really was an incredible evening. Thank you. I wouldn't have guessed that this was only you're only a couple of months with Diageo. So no, it's brilliant. Thank you for joining us. Have I lost everyone? Hello? Hi, can you hear me?
Are you back, Luke?
I'm back. I don't know what happened there. My apologies. So I don't know. I've no idea. What was the last thing you heard me say?
I can't remember now.
I was Jeff says he's off the Skye. So yeah, sorry. I was chatting away to what I realized was a blank screen. So what I was saying was thank you for joining us, and thank you for you. I would never have guessed if you hadn't mentioned at the start that you were only new at Diageo. It's been an excellent tasting, and we'd definitely love to have you on again. So yeah, that's brilliant. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's joined us for Digital Drams throughout the year. It's been a brilliant year, and hopefully long may they continue. Love seeing all the regulars popping up here, so do keep going. We've got some great comments in there. Mel says that you're a lot more photogenic than me. I would 100% agree with that. And yeah, there's Robert had to put 50p in the meter. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, and Sean has I think it's because he sent the direct message to me, his email to me, so he's direct messaged this so people can't see it, but he said you'll definitely nail the prohibition. So now tell us what the dog's called.
Follow me on Instagram and you'll find my dog's name pretty easily. My Instagram name's Scotch Kirsty.
Scotch Kirsty, brilliant. Listen, folks, thank you for all the kind words, and hopefully looking forward to doing lots more tasting with you in the new year. Kirsty, thanks again for joining us. If there's anything we missed tonight, please do drop me an email. We'll find it. It's really, really bugging me that I couldn't find that first comment, but I promise you, whoever said it, I will find you, I will hunt you down, and I will send you a bottle of whiskey. So brilliant. Thanks very much again, and have a great evening and a great Christmas, everyone. We'll see you.
Thank you so much. Hopefully see you all again soon. Have a lovely Christmas. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.